Welcome back to Briggs on Books, our international talk show where we talk to authors from all over the world. Let's see, what have we done today? A couple from England, one from Canada, one from Essex, England. And our next guest, we're going to find out where she is. But if you're about to pick your next book and you like books, real stories, true stories about people and obstacles they've overcome, especially books of strong women, which is what I love, you're going to want to check this one out. Too Much of Nothing. And we have the author here somewhere. Let's see if I can find her. There she is. Carla. Here she comes. Carla Stockton. Welcome, Carla.
Thank you, Mike. Nice to see you.
We have this international theme going today. Tell our viewers where you are.
Well, I'm with my kids in Turkey, which is not where I live, but where I happen to be at the moment.
That's fascinating. And I kept telling people the wrong time today. Apparently our time changed. We switch our time a couple of times a year. I don't understand why, but it's about noon here. And what time is it in Istanbul?
It's 11:04 p.m.
PM. It's a nighttime.
It is.
Now, you said you're just starting your workday. You're going to be teaching for a few hours online?
That's exactly right.
And are your students all over the world?
No, they're all in New York.
Oh, they're all in New York. Excellent, excellent.
Yeah, I teach at Lehman College.
Oh, and where is that in New York?
That's in the Bronx,
okay.
In New York City. It's part of the City University of New York system.
Of course. I'll tell you this, Carla, I'm in California today. Just about 12 hours ago, I was in New York. So I just got...
Where were you in New York?
Mostly Brooklyn. Mostly Brooklyn, yeah. All three of my kids live there. So, by the way...
We go where our kids are, don't we?
Yeah. Well, I've been a parent for 35 years. And you?
50.
50 years, yeah.
I had my 50th anniversary of parenthood 2 weeks ago.
Nice. That's amazing. Isn't it amazing?
It really is.
How fast it went?
Oh, and the grandkids, it goes so fast you can't keep up with it.
Yeah, I just went and talked to my kids about that. I'm going to call you guys are married, 3 kids. I should have a couple grandkids by now. I don't know. I'm going to have
They're still young.
I'm going to have them talk to Carla. Now, this book sounds absolutely fascinating, and it's all true, right?
It is. It is. There are many names that have been changed. Mm-hmm. There are a few composited characters. It's creative nonfiction, and to protect the innocent, I changed a few names and as I said, composited a few characters. But for the most part, it's absolutely 100% just plain real.
I'm going to put the cover up and just let you talk about it. Tell us from the beginning, where was your mother and where did she come from?
My mother was a refugee from the Holocaust. She came from, she was born in Vienna, and they had to leave Vienna because they couldn't get jobs. My grandparents couldn't get jobs in Vienna because when my grandfather returned from the war, World War I, where he was in fact a captain serving the Kaiser, when he came back from the war, he was rewarded for his service by being told that even though he had a doctorate in engineering, he would not be working in Austria. So they went to Yugoslavia, and they had a pretty nice life there for a few years. But then it came time to leave Yugoslavia. Of course, that is now where they were is now Croatia. They were in Zagreb.
And they got out?
They came here in 1939.
So they got out in time?
They did. They did. Not everybody in the family, of course, did, but they did. Yeah. My grandfather refused to leave until he had ensured that all of the people in my mother's generation had exited. As soon as that was done, then he left with his family.
And where did... I got to read the book because I want the whole story, and I know we can't do that here because these stories are fascinating. Where did they go to first?
Well, it's interesting because their story is my next book. My mother's experience and the way it impacted me, it has a lot to do with this book. But what they did, they left Zagreb and they went to France. They had to cross borders, and in crossing borders, they had concocted the story that they were going to visit an aunt in Paris. And my grandmother had sewed all her linens and silver into those linens. And when the Germans stopped them, fortunately, she spoke perfect German, and she told them, "It's just schmackes." and they believed her. So they went to Paris, took the boat from Paris, were in Harlem for a few months, and then moved to Accord in upstate New York, and eventually settled in Kingston. My mom graduated from high school in Kingston.
Now, I know this book is your story, and the part about your parents is how you got here. So you're going to do a whole other book on that then. That'll be interesting. Tell us about this book, Carla.
This book, it has a lot to do with the experience of being a woman growing up in the 60s and 70s, given all the restrictions that impeded our completing ourselves without a man. The basic wisdom of the time was that, and there were women who managed to circumvent the current wisdom. There were women who managed to rise above it. But those of us with limited resources, and with families that impeded progress, bought into the notion that we didn't really have a future without a man. And so, I mean, it wasn't even just an attitude. I couldn't have a bank account. I couldn't get a house in my name. I couldn't rent without somebody promising that they would pay, because obviously a woman is not capable of following her own, is incapable of supporting herself entirely. Couldn't have a credit card.
Wow.
So part of it is just that society was not ready for women, period. And I was an iconoclastic woman. I was strong and outspoken, and that didn't go over all that well either.
That didn't help in those matters, I would imagine.
Not at all.
Yeah. What period are you talking about now?
The period that I was just speaking about?
Yes.
That would be the late 60s. I graduated from high school in 1965.
Yeah.
And I married in 1972. And I divorced in 2003.
Now,
So,
I would think a lot of young women, young, strong, independent, successful women today that are in their 30s, they might find this quite shocking, what you went through back in the early 60s. And so.
I was in a workshop in my MFA program, and I remember the young women actually talking to me in that exact tone of, that's not even possible. What was the matter with you? I have been asked that by women. Anyone under the age of 50 really has a hard time understanding, or even 55 and under, they just have a really hard time wrapping their heads around the way in which we bent to restrictions. One of the stories in the book is that my husband had California dreaming in his essence, and we had to leave New York after we graduated college, and all I wanted was a PhD. I was heavily into Eastern European literature. I wanted to go to Berkeley. I could have had a National Defense Foreign Language Award, a gift of the Cold War.
Yeah.
But I wanted to stay. I either wanted to go to Berkeley or I wanted to be at Columbia. Those were the two places that had the program I wanted and the money that I needed. But he wanted to go to California and did not like Berkeley, did not like the cities. And we ended up in Santa Barbara, where there were no programs for me. When I applied to school, even though I'd been admitted at Berkeley, even though I'd been admitted at UCLA, they told me that they couldn't accommodate me at UCSB.
Wow.
So I went to look for a job, and the first job that I really thought I could, here, I dropped out of school when I was very young and went back to college. So I had this sense of, I just put myself through Columbia University. Yeah. I have a powerful degree behind me and I'm going to get a job. And I walked into the office at University of California, Santa Barbara, where they were looking for somebody to do a job I had been doing for 4 years as I worked my way through college. they interviewed me, sent me home, called me back. On my third interview, the guy actually said, as he leaned across the table, you know, we know you're perfectly capable of doing this job, and you probably would be really good for us, but we prefer to hire a man.
Wow,
And
they said that. This is in
that
the
went that way.
early 70s?
This is 1973.
Yeah, amazing.
And they could get away with it.
Yeah.
I had no recourse.
Yeah.
So those are the kinds of things we were up against. And it's hard. You're right. It's very hard to make people believe it. I suspect there might be a return to believing all of that in the near future, but that's another story.
By the way,
but that's part of why I wrote the book,
yeah.
because I think people should be aware of what we had,
yeah.
where we were, what we gained, and what we are losing.
Well, it's kind of or not kind of, it is a recordation of history, and it's very important that
yes.
people get that and people read about it and know it. And you know, we have on the show many women, and the theme is always overcoming obstacles and just these weird false obstacles you had placed in your way. Well, they're very real to you, I'm sure, but they were artificial.
Very artificial. And here's the thing. We talk about this minority and that minority, but the largest minority is women. Even though there are more of us than of anybody else,
yep.
We are a minority, treated like a minority. And there is a huge effort constantly to keep us under thumb.
Yep. Do you, I mean, are we over that, or it still exists?
That's a loaded question, isn't it, at this moment?
I know. That's why I asked you.
Obviously, I'm not on the side that thinks we should go backwards.
Yeah.
I would like to be optimistic and think that that women will not allow themselves to be put back into the closet. I like to believe that there are many people like me. My story is not unique. Yeah. One of the reasons I wrote the book in this vein. Originally I wasn't writing about myself, and then I was convinced that I should do that, and for the very reason that I am not unique. My story resonates for everybody who reads the book, writes to me and said, and that's not an exaggeration. I keep getting letters saying this resonated so much. One woman wrote me last night that she read the book in one sitting. She couldn't put it down because it was so real to her and her experience. And she's quite a bit younger than I am. That was the reason that I wrote this book. I know that I am not unique. My story is an example of what we've had, where we were, what we've gained, what we are about to lose. And I think the more young women know, the more they're going to be willing to fight to not lose what we have. Because we have a lot.
Yeah, that leads me into my next question: is who should be reading this book?
You know what? Before this week, I would have said, well, mostly women my age. But what I'm finding is that many of my cohorts from my MFA program, I went back to school when I was 69.
Wow.
So
69.
I was clearly the oldest human being. Yeah. In fact, one of the professors made it known at an event. Somebody said, they introduced me because I had something to do, and they introduced me as the oldest student in the program. And one of the professors sitting in one of the rows says, "Oldest student, my God, she's the oldest person in the room."
Great.
Nice. But I was the oldest, and I made friends with a lot. I made a lot of cross-generational friendships. And I'm finding that those young women are reading the book and writing to me and telling me that it resonates for them. And surprisingly, I've just this past couple of days gotten notes from two of my male friends who say they were blown away by it.
Yeah.
So it's not just for women anymore.
Well, this is the kind of book I love to read. Like I said, strong women who overcome obstacles. I by the way, was older. I went for my second master's degree, and it was all online. So none of the other kids, I call them kids, none of the other kids knew that I was, in my 60s. And And I was so ambitious. I was having so much fun, and they're all trying to get through it, and get their work done so they could graduate. So it was amazing, amazing. They thought I was just another kid, so that was a lot of fun. I will read the book. I will read your book, and this is the kind of book I like to get and give as gifts as well. So
I highly recommend it.
Yeah. So
Here's something that I found interesting, because I was an English teacher for many years, and I have a much younger friend who was my student years ago, and I had worked with him on a book that he's going to be publishing very soon. And he read the book, and he leaned across the table when he was talking about it, and he said, "You know what I liked best about it?" He said, "What I remember about your English class is that you used to get so excited talking about flawed characters. And you've created a fabulously flawed character." That's me. Yeah. I'm very flawed and very proud of it.
Here's what I do, Carla, is I go, are these on Amazon, or where can you get these?
You can get them from Amazon, anywhere they sell books online, you can get them. I have a bookseller in Saranac Lake, New York, called the Book Nook, and she's online, and she will be happy to arrange that for you. She's a small book owner, and she's been wonderful about buying the book. I'm from Saranac Lake, by the way, New York, which is a little town in upstate
where is that?
New York. I'm sorry, it's in the Adirondacks, 9 miles north of Lake Placid,
nice.
Which everybody's heard of.
I was going to say, next time I'm in New York, I'll go to the Book Nook, but I don't think I'll make it up there. This is what I like to do this. I go to Amazon. That's where I buy my books. I'm not promoting them. It's just easy. I press a button and the book shows up. But I'm not going to go press one time. Press 10 times. Order 10 of these. It's holidays are coming up. You're going to have to give gifts. You're going to go to parties. You want to take a host gift. What a fantastic book to take and leave it with other people. I always like everybody around me reading what I'm reading also. So
thank you.
Tell me,
kind.
What formats is this book? Is it Kindle?
It's in Kindle. It's print on demand. It's just out there.
Will there
wherever you can find a book?
Will there be an audiobook?
We're planning an audiobook. I was told that I should wait till I wanted to actually do it myself, but I was encouraged to wait until they contact me to do it.
Yeah.
Through one of the audio
I listen to
promoters.
I listen to so many audiobooks, mostly because I can't see those pages very well anymore. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and I love the ones where the author does the reading. It doesn't matter if they're a professional reader or not. It's just the passion and the emotion comes through so well when they read their own. So I vote for that, Carla. If they want to know what Mike Briggs thinks, tell them, I think you should read it.
I will tell them. I don't want the AI version. That's what I've been told I should let them do the AI version. I don't want that.
Yeah,
I definitely want to do it myself.
Yeah, it's coming, but I'm dragging my feet on all of that. Carla, we've gone way past time.
I'm sorry.
No, because you're so fascinated. I could talk to you for hours. But here's the cover of the book. Any last thoughts on the book or anything in the world you want to tell our viewers?
If you like the book, please leave a review, because here's the reality for us authors. We are at the behest or at the mercy of the oligarchs who own the book publishing world. Yeah. And the only way they take notice of us is by the reviews that our readers leave about us. Mm-hmm. And then we are able to be promoted. Otherwise, they don't bother with us.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm one who's always looking for my next book. And how do you pick your next book? The cover a lot of times helps me a lot, and I like your cover a lot. But if there's a few reviews, that helps push me over the edge, because there's millions of books out there I will never get to.
I know, and people are not likely, when they like something, they're not as likely to write a review as if they hate it. Yeah. So I'm constantly asking, and it's really shameless self-promotion, but I'm kind of stuck with it.
Well, if I have something bad to say or critical, I just send a little note to the author. I don't post it for the public, so I know that's a chicken way to do it. But thank you, Carla. I want you to come back again and again.
I would love to. I would love to. You're wonderful to talk to. Thank you.
All righty. And for our viewers, don't go anywhere. We will be back with another author right after this. And by the way, Carla's email or web address, carlastockton.com. What a great web address. I dropped the mouse.
Carla Stockton at me.com.
Or at me.com. Carla Stockton
It's not, there's no com. It's carlastockton.me. I'm sorry.
carlastockton.me. I'll fix that in the final edit. And for our viewers, excuse me, I dropped my mouse, but stick around. We're going to have another author coming up right after this.
Thank you, Mike.
Here I am. And we are out.
Bye.